5-star tempered versions of the Title Update 2 monsters have been wreaking havoc on hunters new and old. With their powerful attacks and hyper-aggressive nature, many hunting parties' investigations have ended due to being carded too many times, making them lose out on those precious sapphires and plates that they've been hunting for. But you can be the one to change all that with this amazing build. It is one of the highest impacting builds that you can run in Monster Hunter Wilds, not only for the damage, but for the utility and the survivability. And that survivability extends beyond just you, it impacts the whole team. Before we dive into the nitty gritty, support your boy by hitting that like button and subscribe for more Monster Hunter Wilds content. Thanks. This build is a direct upgrade to a build that I previously showcased a couple months back. And while the previous version is not as powerful as this Title Update 2 upgrade, it is much easier to build, so if you're struggling against the tempered Title Update 2 monsters in multiplayer, try out that version as you're farming your materials. I'll leave the link in the description and on the top right of the screen. This build utilizes the Sword and Shield to its full potential. You'll be dealing constant critical hits thanks to this build's high affinity, you'll be creating more DPS windows for your team by stunning the monsters with your shield attack, and if you decide to run a paralysis sword and shield, you'll most likely be applying 2 to 3 paralysis windows to any given hunt. Best of all, thanks to some of the skills we'll be using in this build, you'll be able to make use of the sword and shield's ability to consume items while your weapons are drawn to swiftly heal your teammates whenever they need it, with the power of Wide Range 5. In Title Update 2, we are able to upgrade the Wide Range Charm from level 4 to level 5, giving us the skill's max potential before even accounting for any other armor skills that we can apply to this build. At the maximum potential, depending on the weapon, this build will net you around 63 raw attack, 60 additional element attack, and 100% effective affinity. Alongside to share at 100% effectiveness, heals and buffs that you can apply to yourself with consumables. For this build, we'll also have access to mushrooms to help buff our teammates, but we'll discuss more on that in the armor skill section. The individual armor pieces for this build are as follows. We'll be using the Lagiacrus Helm Beta, the Socia Chest Beta, the Lagiacrus Gloves Beta, the Lagiacrus Waist Beta, and the Lagiacrus Pants Beta. Using 4 pieces of Lagiacrus grants us Edge Bolt 2. Whenever we attack a monster, Edge Bolt 2 will generate buildup to doing thunder damage. Once the buildup reaches its critical mass, Edge Bolt 2 will activate and deal a burst of thunder damage to the enemy. The burst of damage itself is 60 true damage and 200 thunder damage that can be reduced by the monster's resistances. And after this Thunder Strike hits, you'll get 15% affinity for 30 seconds, and then the skill will go on cooldown and you'll have to wait 30 seconds before you can activate it again. Because we're using 3 pieces of the Lagiacrus armor, we're also going to get access to affinity sliding, giving us 30% affinity for 30 seconds whenever we slide down a hill. It's pretty insane. Once we slot in all of the decorations you see on screen, we'll gain access to the following skills. Level 5 Agitator. This skill grants 20 raw attack and 15% affinity whenever the monster is mad. And when fighting 5-star tempered monsters, this essentially will be active for most of the fight. Better yet, it's nothing that you have to do to trigger the skill. So now you don't really have to worry about maintaining your optimal damage output and just focus on keeping everyone alive. We'll also get 4 levels of weakness exploit. At level 4, we get 20% affinity whenever we hit weak points and 35% affinity when hitting wounds. Additionally, we'll compound this affinity with level 3 maximum might, giving us 30% affinity whenever our stamina is full. One of the best parts about Sword and Shield is its synergy with maximum might. The Sword and Shield's regular attacks allow you to move around while you're on the offense without using any stamina. Before considering wounds or a weapon, we are sitting at 80% affinity. Now let's add in that latent power level 1 to boost our effective affinity to 90%. Latent power level 1 will reduce our stamina depletion by 30%. And I assume this counts towards blocking. I don't really use weapons that block all that often, so you'll have to let me know in the comments below. And for our last offensively oriented skill, we're going to have 1 level of Counter Strike. This skill can be boosted up to level 3 by shifting around some of the decorations and charm. Not only do you get a reduced amount of wide range from level 5 to level 3, but you'll also lose out on 2 levels of speed eating plus shock absorber. With shock absorber being pretty important in this build because we're focusing on multiplayer. With this skill, your teammates will be unable to trip you with their attacks and you won't be able to trip them with your attacks as well. This way, you will never be interrupted when you need to heal somebody to save their life. We'll also be using 2 levels of Mushroom Mancer, which allows us to ingest blue mushrooms to heal people like a regular potion, Toadstools, which acts like an immunizer that helps you recover lost health much faster, Parashroom, the yellow mushroom, which acts like an armor skin, And lastly, the spiciest one, the nitro shroom, which acts like a demon drug. I would put these 4 mushrooms in a redial menu and just call it a day. This build also comes with level 2 stamina surge to help us get our stamina back quickly after dodging a barrage of attacks or blocking a mighty tackle. And lastly, as we talked about before, we can get wide range level 5 with just a charm. At level 5, we can heal people with our full effectiveness, so it doesn't matter if it's a max potion, a mega potion, a potion, or a mushroom, they will get the full effect that you get. In playtesting, once again, I'm surprised at how good the Sword and Shield is in Wilds. It can literally do everything. You want a power clash? Great. You want a perfect block? Great. You want an offset attack? Well, we don't have that for this weapon, but you can leap in the air whenever you want without the need of a seikret. Plus, you can choose if you want to do severing or blunt damage. As for the weapons, it would depend on the matchup. Generally, I would recommend running Paralysis because not only does it help the team, but the Sword and Shield is amazing at applying stat ailments to monsters. It also helps that the attack Perfect Rush is super fun to use. I may have mentioned this in a previous video, but I really love the way that Monster Hunter Wilds' combat approaches defensive design, giving players incentive to try to time their defensive options better, either through offset attacks or a perfect guard, allows the player to decide how much risk and how much reward they want at their own pace. If they are not comfortable trying to time that perfect block, they don't have to, and while they won't get the highest reward, it's still safe for them. Anyways, what I'm getting at is that I usually gravitate towards something glass cannon. That's why I play dual blades. I like to dodge or die, or parry or die, something high risk with an equally high reward. So much so that in previous games, I didn't really care for switch axe, but in this game, getting the offset attack off just feels so good, bro. Anyways, back on topic. For this build, I default to a Paralysis, RTN, Sword and Shield with a focus on attack and some sharpness. For the RTN weapon, I would recommend slotting in 3 levels of critical boost because we have high affinity, 3 levels of offensive guard plus handicraft or iron wall depending on what you have. Offensive guard will buff your attack by a staggering 15% for 11 seconds. This skill makes our counter slashes when well-timed block do immense amounts of damage. And lastly, depending on your preference, I would go for level 3 attack boost or level 3 razor sharp plus another round of handicraft. In playtesting, I've noticed that while I'm playing a more supportive role, I'm not attacking nearly as often as when I'm going full offense, so I don't really need the extra sharpness, but it is an option if you would like to not sharpen as much. The Soshia Sword and Shield is also a good option for going into any encounter due to its high raw damage and its White Flame Torrent procs. The proc itself does 50 true damage every 6 or so seconds. With the Soshia Sword and Shield, I would slot in using the 1 and 2 slot decoration level 3 critical boost. And with the remaining 3 slot decoration, I would use that for Razor Sharp 3 with Handicraft 1, or Offensive Guard 3 and Handicraft 1 depending on your preference. And lastly, when going up against Thunder Weak enemies like the Seregios with this armor set, you'll be able to make full use of the Lagiacrus weapons thanks to your very high thunder resistance. The Lagiacrus Sword and Shield boasts the same raw attack as the Soshia Sword and Shield, but has way more elements with very high amounts of white sharpness. It will also innately come with Offensive Guard level 2. Once again, for the 2 and the 1 slot, I would recommend getting to Critical Boost 3, and then using the final slot for Thunder Attack 3 plus Critical Element. No matter the weapon that you choose to bring into your hunts, the amount of raw utility that you provide makes an immense impact regardless of the hunting skill of your party. If you are tired of seeing hunts fail, give this build a try and become the hero they need. For more fun and powerful builds, check out this video on screen right now. My name is Varsana and I'll see you in the next video.